Hello everyone, my name is Abby Bliss White and welcome to my channel. As promised, I am going to do a comparison of the CLE de PEAU. This is the new Radiant Fluid Foundation in the matte version. And then we have the CLE de PEAU Radiant Fluid Foundation, just the original one. So yes, these are two different foundations, but they both claim to have a radiant kind of finish. This one's going to be a little bit more of a matte finish, and this one is supposed to give you a dewy, lustrous kind of finish to your skin. And I'm going to be showing you two different shades. So I have this in B20 and I have this one in 010. So what we're going to do today is I am going to do half and half. We'll do a little comparison. I'm going to do a wear test for you as well, so you can kind of see these two foundations in action, and I will be sharing some of the differences. So if you're interested in seeing this CLE de PEAU comparison, then let's go ahead and get started. So I've actually been matched in B20, 010, as well as WB20. Now in this new formulation, they did not have WB20, so we are just going to be working with Ochre 10 and Beige 20 today. So again, you're going to see a slight difference because clearly these are two different colors on the skin, but I am going to keep this on my hand so you can kind of see how they oxidize, and we'll also get to see it on my face. So I'm going to pump out one pump of B20. I'm going to put the B20 on this side, and this is going to be the matte. And I'm going to start with fingertips. We'll kind of go down the side of the nose here. This one is a little bit more creamier and a bit thicker than the Radiant Fluid. So I'm going to just start, you guys, with fingertips to get it precisely on half of my face. And then I'm going to take a little sponge and I'm just going to kind of tap this into my skin. So half and half. Okay guys, we have half of my face with the Radiant Fluid Matte version just on here. And as I've said in my last review, I do not find this to be a flat matte. I find it to have a really nice glow to it, and it just feels very creamy, very hydrating, and it just has become one of my fast favorites. So now we are going to put foundation on the other half, and as I've said, this is going to be two different colors. I'll give you a little update as this is drying, and here is the 010. Now I bought this in the winter months about a year or so ago, and it works fantastic in the winter, and I did like the shade 010. So I was kind of debating between actually going with 020 or 010 again, but my foundation finder on CLE de PEAU told me to get B20, and so far, you guys, I feel like it's a pretty darn good match. So we're gonna pump this, and I just want to show you. This one's got a little runnier texture. It's a little bit thinner than the new matte version. It's still really nice. I find this to be more like a serum kind of foundation, and I'm just going to put this guy on. And again, I just did a pump and I'm only using kind of what I need. Okay, I'm going to use a different little sponge here, and I'm just going to kind of pounce this side into the skin. Okay, so here is O10 on this side. And the reason I always love this one, it was radiant. It's very skin-like. I would say between the two of them, I find that the matte has a teeny bit more coverage to it than my Radiant Fluid. But to be honest, you guys, I still love both of them. I think that this is going to be, if you can kind of tell on this side, there is something kind of a little magical at the fact that it has a little bit of glowiness to it, but it is also matte. And I think what I like about this matte version is just that I don't really feel the need to put powder on. But with the Radiant Fluid one over here, I absolutely love it, but I definitely have to set it. Otherwise, it can get just a little tad almost dewy by the end of the day. So this one I definitely going to powder down. I am going to do a little bit of powder in the T-zone, just a little bit all around, just what I would normally do, just so you guys can see how it wears. As far as the match, you know what, this one works for me, I think, as well as the B20. Sometimes when I'm put in kind of those beige that has a little bit more rosier tones, I find it gives my skin a little bit more life, and it matches a little bit better with my kind of splotchy neck. So they often will match to your neck a little bit. I tend to like to combat any rosiness. So again, I'm attracted to the O series for that, to kind of counterbalance any kind of redness in the skin. So to be honest, you can get away with both. It's just going to be what you feel like. I just tend to usually be matched with a little bit more of rosy undertones depending on who's matching me. So again, you guys, unfortunately, I like both of these, but I will say I find that this one gives me just a little bit more skin-like appearance, as well as a little bit more glow, like it should, because this is the Radiant Fluid. And then this side still gives me a glow, but I definitely can see when we compare the two of them a little bit of that matte coming through. It's kind of crazy. So I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer, bringing you in close to kind of give you a little comparison of both. So on this side with the matte version, I definitely feel like I still have a glow going on with my skin, but you can definitely see it's got a little bit more of a velvety matte finish. I also find that this one has a smidge more of coverage than my Radiant Fluid. On this side, which I still, you guys, this is a fan favorite, is this one is definitely glowy, sometimes to the point of a little bit dewy, and this one looks a little bit more skin-like in appearance to me than this one. So those are my initial kind of half and half kind of thoughts on this foundation. Then I'm going to share a few more details about it. Quick little close-up for you guys before we put on concealer and powder. So this is the Radiant Fluid, and this is the Radiant Fluid Matte. Okay guys, I'm going to finish off my face really quick. We're going to put a little bit of concealer on. I'm going to use the Radiant Corrector from CLE de PEAU. This is in the shade beige, and I'm just going to put a little up in those hollows up here. I don't want to put too much on because I want you guys to be able to see how these kind of foundations perform. Going to take just a little bit of loose powder, and I'm just going to come down, and we are going to go ahead and set this just with a very little bit of powder, you guys. I'm using my Sicily loose powder, what I used the other day when I used this review, and I'm just going to take whatever's excess. I'm not using a ton of powder because, again, don't want to alter the appearance of this foundation. I'm going to use a little bit of Serena bronzer here. We'll just warm up the skin. For blush, I'm just going to put a little bit of this Dior Rosy Glow, just a little bit of that on the cheeks. Then for lips, I'm going to put on Discreet Lip Liner, and then one of my favorite glosses from Chantecaille. This is in Love. Need a little love today, so we'll put a little bit of this on. Okay guys, we've got our face on. I just quickly want to go through some of the differences between the Radiant Fluid Foundation and the Radiant Fluid Matte Foundation. So what I would tell you, clearly there's a difference in finish. This one's going to give you more of a dewy, kind of lustrous kind of finish. And what I have found with this is that it can get a little, almost a smidge too glowy for me. I usually love wearing this more in the winter months than I do during the summer, because in the summer I'm already kind of having a little bit more oils come through due to the heat. But I just love the finish of this, but it's definitely going to be dewy. It is radiant, but I think there is a difference between radiant and dewy. So this one, dewy, lustrous, you're still getting that radiance. And the price of this is $128. The price of this is $130. So just a slight difference. I will say the new bottle is just gorgeous. So I do feel like they upgraded the packaging of their foundation with this CLE de PEAU, and definitely a beautiful glass bottle and really nice pump. So I think that they did give a nice little upgrade with the packaging of this one. In the Radiant Fluid, this does have a mix of chemical and physical sunscreen, whereas the new one, the top #1 ingredient is titanium dioxide, which is a physical sunscreen. They both have fragrance in them. It's that CLE de PEAU rosy scent. What I found with both of these is that this is going to dissipate upon putting it on, but for those of you that do not like fragrance in their foundation, this definitely does contain it. It's in the ingredient deck. They do say that it is quote unquote all natural, but it definitely has that CLE de PEAU rosy kind of scent to it. Now the matte version definitely is focusing on pores, so that's what I would say is I was going to pass on this because I have more mature dry skin, and the word matte is not something that I gravitate towards. I'm definitely more someone who leans on those kind of radiant dewy kind of foundations. But this one got such rave reviews, I thought I better check it out, and I'm so glad I did because I've truly fallen in love with this one. I find it to be a really unique kind of hybrid foundation that gives you both a little bit of that radiant glow, but also gives you sort of a velvet matte. I do not find it to be flat at all. Again, I just kind of feel like I love it because I don't really need to use powder for my more dry skin, and I do feel like it blurs out any kind of pores. As I said the other day in my review, pores are not my biggest issue for myself. I'm someone more who worries about wrinkles and dry skin and if it's going to be clinging to any dry patches, and so far I have had no issues with it clinging. I actually find this to be very creamy and luxe feeling on the skin, but not greasy. Now, surprisingly, this one, I often feel like it feels a little bit heavy on the skin by the end of the day. It's very thin in texture, but because it's got that kind of dewiness to it, it can sometimes feel a little bit heavy on my skin. I am dry, but probably a little bit more normal to dry, not like extremely dry. My skin is balanced at the moment, so that is again when I'm using this guy, it can feel just a teeny bit heavy. Both of them feel hydrating on the skin, but again, I was so surprised at how kind of hydrating and creamy and luxe this felt on my skin, and I still have always loved this one, but I don't know if you can see, you guys, right here it's starting to get a little bit of that dewy kind of look. Again, that's what it's supposed to do, and I do love it, but by the end of the day, you'll see with a check-in, I sometimes feel like, am I a little bit leaning towards that dewy, greasy look versus more of a radiant, healthy look. Now, another benefit of the CLE de PEAU matte fluid is that it comes in 24 shades. CLE de PEAU has finally kind of expanded their shade range, so I'm so excited because it was kind of limited, and I always loved this brand, but hard to find the exact match. They have totally expanded that range with much darker shades as well as some in-between kind of tones. So super excited that they have expanded the range. This CLE de PEAU Radiant only comes in 14 different shades. That was another thing, just kind of finding your match within the CLE de PEAU. Once you do, it can be amazing, but I've obviously been matched to a couple different colors within the range, and I'm never quite sure which one it works the best for me. So those are the key differences of this foundation. So what I thought I would do, you guys, is do a couple different check-ins for you, kind of let you see how they wear. Obviously, these are clearly two different foundations, and they are clearly two different colors. But we're just going to make this work because many of you were asking me, since I had these foundations, if I could do a comparison. Now I quickly want to show you that the differences here. I've had this on for about 30 minutes here, and this is the O10. And what I find is that it actually oxidizes just a smidge darker. And then here is the B20, you guys. And as you see, when I first put it on, I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be too dark, too peachy. But as you can see, it actually oxidizes just a smidge lighter. So that's what I found between the two of these. And when I was matched to this O10, she was telling me that it oxidizes a little bit darker and that I should go with the 10 versus the 20. So I'm hoping this is helpful for you guys. I will be back. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, but we'll do a little check-in and show you how these two foundations wear on the skin. Doing a little 5-hour check-in on these foundations, and this is interesting. I did have my daughter kind of give me a rundown of which one she liked better, and she was saying the Radiant Fluid. This one looks more skin-like. Totally agree with this. And that this one on this side looked like, she said, you could see a little bit of my pores, which I know seems really funny because this one's supposed to not show my pores. I think partly this could be to the amount that I'm putting on each side. As I've said, this one is a little bit more serum fluidy. This one's creamier, and I use like almost a pump just on half of my face, so I feel like probably could have used a little less, because when I did my full review of this, I did not find that it was like emphasizing pores. So this is, let me bring you in. This is the close-up, and again, really pretty radiant kind of finish. You guys, I just always have liked this one, and I'm hoping you can see still has some radiance, but it definitely has a bit more of a matte kind of coverage. So far I'm finding that it's wearing pretty darn evenly, and I have not had to wear a mask today. I did have a little bit of transfer the other day when I was using this guy, when I was putting a mask on and I was really pushing it around my nose area. Obviously had a little bit of transfer, but today it is very rainy out, so I'm not going to be going out and about. But just wanted to give you a little update about these two different foundations. I will do one more check-in so you guys can see how this is looking by the end of the day. But again, this is Radiant Fluid and this is Radiant Fluid Matte. Okay guys, hope you're having a great day. I'll check back in a bit. Okay guys, I am back. This is a final check-in on these two foundations, and I've now had this on for close to 11 hours on my skin. So just want to give you a little close up. And of course, by the end of the day, you guys, I tend to get a little breakthrough of shine kind of through my T-zone area, kind of natural. And then here is the side. Then here is the left side with the matte version. And then here is the right side with the Radiant Fluid. So I'm finding that you guys, to me, it's looking like it's a little bit glowy on each side of my face. I do think that the Radiant Fluid looks a little bit more skin-like to me. It looks a little bit more natural on the face versus on this side. I still like the finish of this, but I just feel like you can tell it has a tad more coverage, and with a little bit more coverage, I always feel like you're going to look a little bit more makeup-y versus a little tad bit less coverage. And then as far as the shades, I'm thinking it's kind of funny because I'm not seeing a huge difference between both sides. This is 010, and I find that this oxidizes a little bit darker. And then this is B20, and this one I find oxidizes just a little bit lighter. So to me, it kind of all evened out. I don't think that you can totally tell which side is which, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe when I edit this, I might be like, oh my gosh. But you guys can let me know if you think one side looks drastically different than the other. And then the only other thing I would say is clearly this side has more of a little dewy, kind of lustrous kind of finish, and this side definitely has a little bit more of a radiant matte finish. So definitely two different kind of foundations, but since I had both of them, you guys were asking, can I compare them if you have this one? I don't think it's a huge difference to this new one. I do think that this one feels a little bit like almost lighter on the skin versus this one, and I'm not exactly sure why. This one is thinner in texture. It has that serum-y kind of texture that I really enjoy, but for some reason this one feels a little bit heavier than this side over here on the Velvet Matte, and I find this one to be creamier, a little bit more luxe feeling on the skin when I first put this on, but they both feel like really nice on the skin, you guys. They definitely both have the CLE de PEAU kind of skincare benefits. They are both about the same price. This is $128, this one is $130, but this one does have a little bit more of that kind of new formula that seems to be coming out, which is either a soft matte or a radiant matte kind of look to it. So that is what I would say about these two. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will be back with another video soon.